everybody, and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 331. Ozone Ocean, and with me is the magical, marvelous Pitface, Baines, and Tanserine, all in one massive go. Hello, you people.
Hi.
Oh wow, we did it in a huge bucket load. That's fantastic. In this Quackcast, we're going to be chatting about retconning, which is when you've got an established story or property, and then you go back and you alter some kind of part of it. And, you know, you say, okay, Han Solo actually didn't shoot first, or something like that. And, you know, the Force is midichlorians. And you change...
Sounds sexy.
You change the established law that everyone's read and loved forever, and you mess up people's, like, relationship with this creative property. So that's what retconning is. And it's sort of related to rebooting, but... rebooting can be like a retcon, but it's a better thing normally. But if you reboot something that's been going on for an entire series and people have already loved it and enjoyed it, and then you suddenly do a reboot, that's sort of like a retcon in a way, because you mess with people's relationship with the work. Okay, but first, before we get into that, let's talk about the featured comic. So the featured comic this week was... I featured the comic, and it was called Lost and Found. So take it away, Ozone Ocean, with Lost and Found. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature this week was Lost and Found. Oh, one word, no spaces. Lost and Found. Okay, so this it features a young lady. She's living quietly with her quirky, pink-haired roommate. She's just trying to make her way in the world. She's working as a waitress while she studies at college. Basically the life of a typical student. But one day, something weird happens. The Sandman is off work for the night, and his replacement spills sleeping sand all over the poor girl's face, resulting in some pretty unusual things happening to her, and the arrival of a new companion. A magical hamster. This is a slice of life, fantasy, comedy. The art is digital colour and quite cute and charming in style. The writing is humorous and light. Yeah, I found this a very cute-looking comic. That's why it appealed to me, because it has a real cute look. And I suppose she's the character. For the life of me, I could not find her name in the comic, but she's a bit of a magical girl. But she doesn't really dress like one, at least not yet. Maybe she'll get a fancy costume in the future. But yeah, so she has that kind of thing. She's slowly discovering some special powers that she's gained from having all this sleeping sand poured all over onto her face by the temp Sandman. And it's really, really interesting so far. It's funny watching her try and deal with these unusual powers as they manifest in the middle of her working and student days. Okay, so the comic is done by Roxy Key, and it's rated E. All that rhymes. So, have a read of Lost and Found by Roxy Key. And that was our feature, Lost and Found.
Sweet.
It was so very, very sweet. Yeah, it is actually. You look at the comic, and it looks like very charming, sweet work, which is why I featured it, because it's really cute looking. So, I haven't featured a comic. Maybe Kwai has, but I haven't featured a comic that looked like that for a while. So that's what caught my eye. And next we have the featured music, which is by Gun Wallace, of course. And this week the featured music is Optimum, which is a weird title, which is by Scream, who is of course Pitface's daughter. So.
That's right.
Good on you, Scream.
I didn't know that.
So this music, I would describe it as the future is here and it's in space. This tune is so upbeat, positive, and fun and futuristic. It really exemplifies the cute, colourful graphics in Scream's work. So take it away, Mr. Gun Wallace. Scream with no, it was Gunwallers with Optimum by Scream. Attractive, fun, future.
I never know when Scream has a new comic. He's so damn prolific, and then, like all this stuff, like
he's prolific.
new stuff pops up.
He's stuck with this this vector art style for a while now, which is really unusual because Scream is a masterful draftsman. He can draw anyone under the table. My God,
amazing artist. Yeah,
in any style that he chooses. But now he's chosen to do a massive flurry of comics, all in these shapes.
Yeah,
It's been his signature style for a couple of years now.
it's kind of South Parkish, but not quite. But I guess what you said there exactly.
It would work in animation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you should work with him, Baines. Get him to do some animation.
If he did everything, yeah, I would definitely. It would be a fine piece of work. I'll tell you that much.
Even do the voices.
He wrote it and animated it. And he's actually a funny guy. We talked to him on the Quackcast gathering there, way back.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Great voice. Okay, so
Anyway, blah blah blah.
You know what? Every time we talk to Scream, I expect him to actually scream when we chat to him. Okay?
Yeah.
No, more like, you know that kind of thing?
Right.
That's our scripting, though, isn't it?
Well, maybe you should change his name to Screech. Maybe he looks like Screech. And Saved by the Bell. Alright, so Retconning. My least favourite retconning, I'll tell you. I don't know whether you guys have read this. Ender's Game, which is a great...
I've heard of it.
Yeah, great
It's just
little
novels, series of novels.
Yeah, young adult sci-fi. I think it's rated as being one of people's favourite best sci-fis. You know, in those huge lists people do. So Ender's Game, which, you know, I enjoyed as a young adult when I read it. But I think every, few years or something, Orson Scott Card releases, a revised version where he changes some of the writing, some of the bits, and which is, a bit douchey, really. But he also did sequels to it, and so the sequels carry on from the story, as you expect sequels to do, but then he did a bunch of sequels that actually go back and retell some of the... and do prequels, and retell some of the accounts in the original book that got famous, but from a different perspective, and totally retcon the story. I'll absolutely change it, which ruins your relationship to the work, and it changes the work from something you enjoyed to something you'd think, oh my God, this sucks now. So yeah, that's a good example of a famous author retconning. And of course, the most famous example of all, I think, is George Lucas with the changes he made to the original Star Wars trilogy, and then his prequel, which also changes things about the first series. So,
right. Well, let me ask you this.
Yep.
Riddle me this. Luke, I am your father. I am your father. Is that a retcon?
That's not a retcon because that is a miss. That's I think what happened was people quoted that line, and in order to quote it and give it context, you change it. So you say, "Oh, Luke, I am your father," and one person did that, and then another person took off from that, and it became that's a social cultural thing. So that gets repeated in media over and over because it makes sense, and it's easy to repeat, and it gives us a narrative that's understandable.
No. That's I know what you're saying there, but that's not what I mean. Is Darth Vader being Luke's father a retcon?
Oh,
sorry, I was not clear there.
All right, I was thinking the Mandela syndrome. Okay, so
no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
that is a retcon of within the series, isn't it? Because he wasn't going to be his father. They didn't know he was going to be his father. That was just totally made up in the Empire Strikes Back. So you're right.
I think it might have been planned. It might have been planned ahead.
No, it
because
wasn't.
the original movie was.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't.
would say
It was Luke. I killed your father, and none of the actors didn't even know that was going to happen until.
Yeah, but I think the writer did initially. He had a lot of material for several movies, but he thought he might only be able to make one movie, so he couldn't put in everything. That might be one of the details he didn't put in.
I have read about that. Apparently,
no, and the actors didn't know, but the reason the actors didn't know is they didn't want the secret getting out.
Can I cut in all of this? You are trying to judge this on whether the writer intended it or not. But I think that it is not a retcon, even if he had no intention initially to do what he did with Luke's parentage, because it was told in a linear way, and it was a reveal that they decided to do before they had established before they had established it beyond reasonable doubt that he was my father.
Good point.
See, so if you decide, if as the story evolves, you see things going a particular way, and you decide to abandon the original plot, let's say, and yeah, exactly. Thank you. The original canon, and you jump ship to the other one because it's cooler or because it will offer more. I don't think that's a retcon.
You're right.
If, however, they had completed the trilogy and now they went back and they decided to make, for example, they had decided to make Darth Vader Luke's father and make Han Solo gay, or make someone. I mean, okay, this would be a retcon because it's something that you put your audience through a reconfiguration that they didn't sign up for. So I think that constitutes the retcon more than anything else.
You're exactly right, Tance. You're exactly right, because it wasn't established until that time. Yeah. In the beginning, they just said, Vader killed your father, but that was sort of fuzzy. And then, it just reveals, actually, he is your father, and they said killed, it was just symbolic, or we just want to hide you from the truth. It wasn't, they didn't actually...
But that's still, I mean, because I would say then that would qualify it somewhat as a retcon then. And retcon doesn't have to be a dirty word here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it can be done well, I think. Like, but like, you know, because I think it still served the story well, because then you do have that moment like, oh, he killed him in a different way. But up until then, you had been following the story with the inclination that Darth Vader killed Luke's father, and ergo is not Luke's father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it could be a soft retcon in a way.
Softcore retcon. and like I said, one that I enjoy, because it gives you that instance of like, wait, you know, this is a different kind of death. So I enjoyed it.
It redefines everything. Yeah, retcon is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think so either.
Yeah.
It could be a really cool thing.
A lot of times it has been.
Yeah, like a cheap kind of... Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You guys got examples of...
Usual Suspects, is that a retcon? This is my idea, just to throw out some examples, just to see what people think.
Because that's within the story itself, so that is all properly planned. Usual Suspects, you know, the story, it's not, unless they did a re-edit or did a prequel that changed how you saw it. But,
so being pre-planned means it's not...
No.
Even if the function is the same?
Otherwise, if we said that, then every twist that you don't foresee is a retcon, so I don't think that would qualify?
I choose that one because I think it's very hard for anyone to have foreseen that. I don't think there's really a hint until,
I know a retcon that, and I only think about this because I've been addicted to the Friday the 13th series lately. Not that a lot of the movies are particularly good, but I just love it. Jason's my favorite slasher. But anyway.
Me too.
Yeah. He's like, thanks, guys.
Brings me to life to hear this. Yeah, he's probably very touched.
Yeah. But and spoiler alert, I guess, for anyone who hasn't seen the series yet, but you've had a long time to do it. But to be fair, there are younger kids. Anyway.
You shouldn't be watching it.
The first one, yeah, they should. This is all they should be watching. The first Friday the 13th movie, it follows the same kind of formula as the rest, but then at the end, you find out that it's Jason's mother. But then the second movie comes along, and it doesn't say that it wasn't his mother. But in that first movie, towards the end, it establishes, if I'm remembering correctly, that she's killing these people because Jason drowned when he was a child.
Yes.
So then how could he be the one that comes back? I know he's immortal in the movies, that you can't kill him, but then how could he have drowned as a child?
If he's not dead. And in the second movie, before he's a zombie or before he's a unearthly being immortal, in the second and third and maybe I think fourth movie too, he's like just a guy. He's a guy who grew up in the woods.
Yeah.
So it's
exactly.
like, well, why was the mother avenging? I have a fan theory on that. I came up with that.
Do you? I've been building a little one. I'd be interested to talk to you about.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. On our next episode or after we're off the air.
You're right. The horror movies have to retcon because they can't have sequels and make money without doing it, because you usually end them very finally.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. That's a huge retcon, that one.
Yeah, all of those ones. I don't know if Friday the 13th does that. But
well, that one in particular. I mean, not just like the killer died and now he's alive. That's not really a retcon so much as I don't know what you'd call that, but
yeah.
This one is like the mother is seeking revenge because her son drowned. And then in the second movie, well, he never drowned. He grew up in the woods. It's like, well, what was mom's problem then?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing.
Yeah.
In the other movies afterwards, it still says that he...
That's right.
What?
No, I said maybe her problem was that he actually didn't drown. Maybe she failed and she was trying new methods. Back.
But it totally doesn't make sense in light of the first one that made it popular, because he's suddenly a supernatural person. So why would he have been even disturbed when he was bullied as a child, or if he's a supernatural god killer?
But I kind of like, this is another instance that I kind of like the retcon, because I like when things don't necessarily make sense in movies, because what that makes me do is, the way I watch movies is I do like kind of backflips in my mind that go like, all right, now how would this make sense? And it makes me install this new part of the universe in my mind, which, isn't fun when something comes about to, dispute that. But then like part of me thinks like, what if this could be maybe even a Star Wars type of death, maybe he did drown, but then he was reborn as maybe not the monster yet, but he became this different than just the little bungalow boy, he changed somehow. The lake claimed him, he is the son of the lake now. I don't know, but it makes me think of cool shit like that.
Ground. Yeah, exactly. It was like Pet Cemetery, but in a lake.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Back evil. Yeah, excellent. You should get us to retcon this stuff. We do a much better job.
They should. We'd be awesome at it.
It all makes sense now.
There's a huge one in comics.
Oh yeah?
I just thought of it. So Captain America, and I don't really read comics anymore, but someone I work with told me about it. I guess he's into comics and stuff like that here and there, obviously. Or he heard about it too. It's all like online and stuff. Captain America, like Nazi fighter, American soldier since the 1940s, you know.
Yeah.
Recently, like his mental blocks were removed. Like there was some kind of like Manchurian candidate thing going on in his mind. He became his true self in the comics, which is an agent of Hydra, which is an evil, like the evil organization since World War II. Hail Hydra is that moment where the mental blocks are removed and Captain America says, Hail Hydra. And he's always been this Nazi-ish character or whatever. Sleeper agent, exactly. So all this time, for all these decades, through all the comics, it's been a fake, it's been a brainwashed guy or something.
Who put the metal blocks then? Who put the metal blocks?
I haven't read the stories. I don't know. I don't know the details.
Was he spooked when he was a teenager wanting to go fight the Germans? Because
I think that's why people are annoyed. Yeah,
that would be amazing. Spy work there.
I think it irritated a hell of a lot of people. It really annoyed them. As bad retcons do, because it's like you're betraying 50 years or 60, however long it's been going on, 60 years worth of canon that people have become emotionally invested in, and you're just messing with it.
Yes, and I think my understanding from this guy I work with is that the comic took great pains to say, no, this is real. This is real. It's not a thing. Like he's not brainwashed to think he's Hydra. It's not another dimension or whatever. Like this really is the real Captain America. And they'll of course they could end up changing that back, of course, retconning it again, but
which is what they do in American comics. They retcon it over and over and over.
Well, comics is the big medium where this happens, I think, and especially like characters like this that go on for 60, 70 years and more, right? They have to start mining.
Find ways to keep it fresh. And
so you start mining your own history, kind of, to
Judge Dredd will be Judge Death all along. That's why he doesn't take his helmet off, because there's nothing there. It's just a skull. But that is a huge one, and really did piss people off, and it just doesn't make sense, especially in light of like bloody movies that they're doing as well. So they totally depart from the movies.
The movies are a different thing. Like,
they are.
If everyone loved this story, they'd probably end up doing it in the movies, I guess.
But since they are getting popular and taking over, and I think more people have probably seen the movies in recent years than have read the comics.
Oh yeah, I bet.
It's a bit of a betrayal of that as well. So it's like Pitt says, it's not always a bad thing, but often it is.
And it's kind of, once again in comics, it's like you got to do something, man. You got to do stories every month for the rest of time. Like you have to come up with something, forever.
Sort of like the Quackcast.
Mm.
So, what about like in webcomics, Drunk Duck kind of webcomic? Have you seen it much there? Or have you probably not read enough? Or have you done it yourself? Is Oscar really a sleeper agent for Hydra? And
I had a backstory when I first started doing this series. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's coming. As soon as I run out of ideas, someone's going to have a baby and someone's going to, they're going to meet themselves. And then after that is the sleeper agent story. And then I had a backstory.
Pinky has actually never driven a chopper. And whenever we see her driving, it's actually somebody else's arms around the back of the seat controlling it for her.
That dude's been standing behind her the whole time.
We find out she never had pink hair. It was always a wig.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Hey, Oz, important question. Do the curtains match the drapes?
They don't. They don't. That has been seen.
Illusion shattered.
I retconned that because
Chapter.
I removed reference to that in a page. Yeah, that had.
Did you?
Yeah, she was sleeping with no underpants on, and there was a sheet that was just, things were peeping through, just above the whatever. Anyway, I retconned it.
The pubic region.
Exactly. So
Wow.
I did retcon.
There you go.
There we are. That has been done. I have been tempted to do, because my first 5 pages were like some kind of comic. That it wasn't even a proper Pinky TA thing. It was just, it's embryonic when Pinky TA started, and it's stupid. It's got helicopters and things, which doesn't make sense within the rest of the story. So I keep on meaning to just remove those or change them or redo them, and that would make more sense with the rest of the story. So I will retcon that eventually, because it doesn't make sense. And some people do. A lot of people do that, because webcomics, as we all know, take years to play out for most of us. We do.
Yeah.
People do these comics just forever, and then you go back and you look at your old work and you think, oh my god, the first 100 pages are just crap, and people do them. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And they either do them exactly or they do changes. And I think that's all right, as long as you don't change the story too much and do a George Lucas, be a douche, and actually change the substance of the story. Which it's tempting to do, though. It's tempting.
I think that I think that if you're gonna do that, maybe it's best to just reboot the whole thing and
yes.
key your audience that we are doing a full reboot, and don't assume anything. Like there will be the same characters, but there will be some specific, very, very pivotal changes, and then go ahead and demolish everything.
Well, that's what Amelius is doing with Chubby the Vampire. She has Chubby the Vampire Revisited, or Chubby the Vampire HD or something, where she is systematically going through and redoing the entire story, which is like she's got like over 1,000 pages.
Yeah. And is the redo very different from the just updated art? It is.
Question, since we're talking about that, if you were to retcon or reboot your comic, what would you change?
I have this because I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking of either changing the video store setting. I don't think I would reboot and do all the same stories again, because why do that? It's silly to me anyway. I don't think I'd spend the time. But like the video store thing, they existed. A lot of them still existed when I started the animations, and even when I started the comic. And now they kind of, this is not just an anachronism. Like they pretty much don't exist anymore. So I've thought of changing the character's setting or changing the store into something else. If I ever did reboot, it would be that I would do that. Just change the what the store is.
I wouldn't if I were you, because that's an iconic thing. It's like Clerks, even though it doesn't exist anymore. It has a coolness to it, or like a High Fidelity,
Right.
It has an iconic.
I doubt I'll do it. I mean, I might address it somehow that, but I don't think it really matters that much. Well, somehow they stay in business renting out VHS tapes.
Yeah, which is the funniness of it. That's a huge, hilarious part. Yeah. For Pinky Tea, I definitely take out any reference to helicopters, because that messes up the entire dynamic. Why do you have trompers? Why do you have zeppelins? Why do you have battleships? Even if you have aircraft, it just doesn't make any sense. There's no logical need for that. I would replace them all with zeppelins, and it would be so much cooler. It just makes so much more sense. So, it would be a change that has to be, not that anyone cares except for me, but
I don't think, a lot of people would sort of miss the detail, the finer details.
Except for, like, 3 people. Like, Bravo, me, and some other dude.
Wow. Yeah.
We're the only ones that care. But just for those people, that's what I do it for. I like I said, I took the pubic hair out. I was only like a hint of it above the pubic region, and like some swear words or something like that. Like I made the comic less sexual. Like there was you could see Pinky in the shower and stuff like that, and I just added extra like steam,
steam,
exactly, to remove that kind of stuff. So that's a bit George Lucas-y retconning in a way. Or
Spielberg, he in E.T. he changed the military's or the soldiers' guns to walkie-talkies. I heard digitally.
Yeah. And cigarettes all changed and stuff like that.
Stupid.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But that's awful because you've seen the movies. Everyone's seen it at the drive-in, which you, of course, was compulsory. You saw those films in the drive-in, nowhere else. And
Drive-in?
Yes.
How old are we?
And then for the DVDs, or whatever, I think it would have been DVDs rather than video releases, they changed that. So if you want to watch the original version and you've got all that nostalgia, and then you see it's different. Like, I hated that when I saw the Star Wars one years ago, and I thought,
well, those changes were garish and you couldn't miss it.
I was so looking forward to watching, revisiting that experience of watching Star Wars, and I saw it and thought, oh my god, what are all these awful changes? It's just stupid looking. Everyone looks like they did the animation with Barbie dolls on
it looked bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Crap. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, what about you guys? If you had to reboot, or someone's going to pay you to reboot, or whatever, so you got to reboot your comic.
Well, what would you retcon?
What would you choose
if you could?
Or retcon rather, not reboot. Yeah, retcon.
Nothing.
Nothing. That's good.
Nothing.
Perfect as it is.
Oh, it's very, very inconsistent in some ways, but no. I was reading through it just a few weeks ago, and I was actually kind of thinking of this, and like even the parts that kind of turned out, fell flat and stuff like that. Like I don't know. I just still like them. I have a little soft spot for them, and I think they kind of play into the just the whole flavor of the thing. So I don't think there's anything in particular, at least right now, that I would go back and change.
Would you expand any sections that you could go back and just like I would love to see more of the weird theme park Disney World version of when Bones wakes up and he finds himself in this ideal family situation, with all the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that could have been more fun to show more of, but I was hungry for some chaos, so yeah, that was a good scene. That was fun. I don't think that would necessarily be retconning, that just being an expansion of something that's already established.
Yep.
Yeah, like when they do a special edition DVD and you include 35 more minutes or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the editor's... No, what do they call it? The director's cut or something.
Director's cut.
Which, funnily enough, we don't see those as retconning, do we? Even though they do often change.
Well, look at Blade Runner. There's 29 versions of that movie.
Yeah, there is. And that just does change the meaning of the story somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see it as retconning. That's interesting. That is interesting. What about Without Moonlight? How would you retcon that? Take out the death of Anna.
Take out the Nazis. They're too depressing.
That is very important. I cannot wait.
In my version, in my director's cut of Without Moonlight, she doesn't die. She goes away to on a holiday somewhere.
She escapes to South Africa.
Exactly.
Right?
pictures are riding a Nazi airplane or something.
I don't know about Without Moonlight because I actually thought out the entire story before starting, so I don't think I would retcon anything in Without Moonlight. I think, yeah, I wouldn't. What I would retcon a lot would be Wolf, which was a completely unplanned thing. I completely, like, when I started every page, I had no idea what would appear on the page. So, I would retcon that to put little hints of what was coming in the beginning. Yeah. Because, of course, there weren't, like... now
you're a better writer. I would change it.
Yeah, I would build up the conspiracy a little more, and I would definitely have more wolf action, like more wolf around.
Wolf action.
Yeah, take it that, don't you? So yeah, I would have a lot more random or not so random like virus infected people running around and doing stuff, and and I would definitely give the twin bimbos more to do. That's what I would do.
That's an interesting aspect, because now we're talking about a work that you feel is a bit more embryonic, that it was an earlier work you've done and you're not so happy with it, so you think it deserves to be changed, and that's
I love it because it's where I started, and I will always look at it with fondness. I will not turn it like I did with my novels of the matching level. But I guess it could produce a nice, fun, entertaining little flick of biological warfare, in a sense. Yeah, thriller. But I would need to have literally nothing to do except that, to go back to it.
Or someone looked at it, a treatment of it, and paid you. Okay, we want.
If I was paid, I would definitely go back and make it bombastic and.
We want this to be the new Underworld. This is the new movie we want. Going to base it on this.
There you go.
You got to fix it for us. We're sick of this Greek.
Yeah, sure.
Now time.
Money talks, man. Come on, pay me and I'll do it.
I like that. I'd change PKTA for money. Yeah, sure.
Oh, sure.
Definitely. Oh, throw it at me. So other authors who do it to work that does not have such a huge place in the eyes of fans, so that does make sense. I mean, say Star Wars, that's too big a thing. That's why it's so hurtful to do it, because we all have a personal relationship with Star Wars. So, I think it's bad.
But if the choices weren't so bad,
that's another
thing. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. If the choices weren't so bad, but because they were so severe, and it was such a love thing, we all notice, and we feel betrayed by it. Say if he did that to THX, or whatever was it 019? I can't remember what the film was that he did before Star Wars. It was
Yeah, I know what you mean. But who would care about that? No, me neither.
Who's seen it? I don't know. Who can be bothered? If you did it to that one, well, yeah, no one would mind. And,
I mean, that's a weird example, like to literally go back into your own footage. And I mean, you can do it in web comics. I guess now the technology exists to do it in movies. Yeah. Star Wars is a weirdly unique example where you have like something that's so still well known for so many years, and then you have this, one guy who controls it. He's got this kind of weird sensibility, or he doesn't control it anymore, but it's a pretty odd example, just mostly for how popular it is and how ingrained it is in the culture, and that he wants to make those crazy changes. It's so weird.
And it wasn't only that. He did the terrible prequels, as we know, and he changed them to fit in with that. So he took out scenes of the Darth Vader when he became Anakin Skywalker in the end. Is this the actor Frank Prowse, I think it was. No, it was Frank Prowse played, or whoever it was. Someone proud. It
was like one guy in the suit, one guy doing the voice, and I think the human at the end of Return of the Jedi is a different guy. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
So that's
how it works.
That's him sort of at Kenobi's age, and sort of healed up and looking nice and
right
in his brown robes. But they stuck in Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, I haven't seen
really
it, but
horrible. Oh my god, he just looks disgusting.
Yeah,
that was so the thing is that if they had the young version of Anakin, so there should be the young version of everyone, including Yoda, which was still an old man.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
They should have had, what's his name instead of...
Ewan McGregor?
Yeah, Ewan McGregor. Oh,
yeah.
My God. Yeah, with his mullet.
And it should have been Grover instead of Yoda.
Give us his voice.
I think that's how that works, yeah. Near. Far.
Oh, even the creaking of the door. Oh, brilliant.
It was my chair, but it worked out.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Oh. So that is a great example of something just awful. Yeah, midi-chlorians as well. Because that became like a huge cultural touchstone, the Force. There became the pseudo-religion even around Jedis, and people see themselves as Jedis with the Force and stuff like that. And that just built on and became a massive thing where people are putting Jedi as their religion in Britain, and it became an official religion. And then suddenly, it's midi-chlorians. Oh, it's a biological thing. Oh, they're all around us. Oh, you have a lot of...
Sounds like Scientology.
Yeah. It just becomes lame. So, it was a terrible thing. But let's say, for webcomics, do we know anyone who has done that, apart from Chubby the Vamp? Well, that's a reboot.
Wasn't Sarah N. who rebooted the Vampire Story? But I don't remember the name of exactly, but she completely changed certain elements.
Jack, I think.
Yes, that was the one. Jack.
She has rebooted that 16 times. Every year she
was around for one or two of them. So.
That was like the annual thing. Oh, it's another year. Time for another reboot of Jack. Here it comes.
Yeah.
And that used to change. It didn't. It wasn't just, she's redrawing it. She would actually change the story. She'd have this idea, skeleton of the story in her mind, and she would redraw the comic to fit with it and make subtle changes every time, sort of honing it, which was interesting. It was like a ritual for her to do this. But it got annoying because she would never finish the story. She'd just go back.
Yes, exactly.
Start over and over.
Get to a certain point and then just go, I have to start over again. Like building a Jenga tower or something like that. And then, it all collapses. Time to start over, build it up.
I think that now that she has started, I think that all of these reboots have finally matured into something entirely different. Like Jack has sort of given birth to the comic that she is currently doing, and hopefully it doesn't look like it's getting rebooted. It looks like it's getting finished, which is nice. And I think and that one is called Daniel. It's still a simple name.
Didn't she have Nick doing the writing? Nick, who is, of course, Amelius's partner. I think he was doing
I don't know about that.
Or maybe he was doing the writing for another comic that she was doing. Yeah. These connections, aren't they? Everyone's connected.
It's all connected, man. That's why we retcon, to connect everything.
Yeah, speaking of connections, I was thinking, like, if Pitt ever did, like, a retcon of
PitCon.
Should meet PitCon, she should stick in the fan versions we did, like the crossovers, and they should be like officially canon.
That'd be fun. Yeah. You mean all the ones, even the ones that we haven't posted online, like with the
Oh my god.
Yeah, definitely, especially those ones. That would fit. It would, because I think the Putrid Meat world has the advantage of being very malleable and plastic.
Yeah.
To an extent.
So. I have so much fun with it.
You wouldn't want to mess up the Bones character. That's kind of the only thing you don't want to do, you know? But the world is super flexible, I agree with that. Like, he could be put into so many different situations, but you wouldn't want to, you know, there's like an integrity to the character. It's one of those comics.
Yeah.
Unless it was obviously in fun or whatever, of course.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. You wouldn't want to, I would never want to retcon anything that, like, nuked his character in a way that I wasn't, you know, comfortable with. Which, I mean, anybody would say that anyway. So, but I mean, that being said, there's still lots of different ways you can do things, and I mean,
for sure.
But I think when it comes down to it, when I hear about a retcon, like when somebody tells me, like, "Oh, there was this series, and then they retconned this," like I find it hard to judge said retcon just on seeing what I read on paper. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot that goes into, like, the ultimate judgment of, like, how well did they do it? You know, what was the outcome? Like, what, like, just simply changing a story, you know, exactly, you know, what was the execution? So,
yes. Yeah, it's true.
Well, like we say, it happens in comics. So let's say there's a new Wonder Woman movie, which I haven't seen, but say Wonder Woman...
I've seen it.
Oh, congratulations.
Was it good?
I liked a lot of it.
Yeah.
There were some things I wish that were better, but overall I liked it.
That's good. Yeah. Heard good things.
Well, yeah, apparently it's the best DC movie that they've ever made. That's what they say. And but I was going to say with Wonder Woman, there's a lot of different. I've never read the comics, but there's a lot of different like TV versions and not movie versions, but there's her in the cartoons. There's her in the old TV series with Linda Carter.
I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have slightly different versions of her. You know, she gets like magical powers. She gets super strength. She can fly. She needs a invisible aeroplane to fly.
I love that fucking concept because whenever anybody portrays it, she's not invisible inside. So it makes me laugh so hard.
It's like a seated person, like cruising through the
air. So funny. So that's a big one that gets visible retcons. Because all the other characters are pretty much the same. Superman always came to us as an alien. Blah, blah, blah.
Actually, no, Superman got the retcon that I personally didn't like. Although I'm never, you know, I'm not a loyal fan of all these characters, so I usually don't care about the retcons. But this one sort of went against the grain of all the background. All these decades this character had, and it was like with his uncle, father, whatever, that he supposedly allowed his adoptive father to die.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his father as well told him that maybe you shouldn't save a busload of kids.
Yeah.
To protect
it's like preserving your secret is what you're all about, not helping people.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Although in the same time he was telling him that you are here to be this God's gift to humanity and do awesome stuff and be very famous, but by all means, keep yourself hidden in a corner and protect your identity and be a douchebag. So I don't know. It felt that it went against the logic. Yeah.
So this is one of those situations where I personally am I kind of like to see how it's done, because like when it comes to these superheroes, I love shit like that. It's like,
yeah,
he's human. Well, he's not human, but he has this, perhaps at a young age or whenever, the story picked up, which I assume he was a younger age. He had this conflict or this slightly different way of thinking instilled in him. And we have played with that so much in writings that we've done. What happens to this one character if they have this instance that they don't necessarily know how to judge yet or anything? And how does it change them? And like neat things happen.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry. Go on.
What?
No, go on, because I thought you had finished and you didn't, and I interrupted, and I'm sorry.
No, I did finish. I didn't hear you had said anything. So
no, I was going to say that I love that sort of thing myself. But the issue I have with this particular retcon that they did in that movie is that they didn't go through with it. Like they had this threat of this idea that maybe you shouldn't be the hero. Maybe you should protect your identity. Maybe you shouldn't save the kids. But nothing else has changed. It was something like it was shoehorned to create drama.
That would be annoying.
But yeah, there was no follow-up on this, because I would totally go for a Superman that decides to just not be Superman because his parents tell him that, don't do that, the world will not appreciate it or whatever. And then his experiences make him become what we know as a character. Totally go for that. The thing is that they just did this, so I would just leave this here and do nothing with it. So, that's what
I agree. That would be super annoying, man. Super annoying.
Yeah.
Super annoying. Super annoying. Able to leave 12 buildings in a single bout. Oh, God. Yeah. Retcon. That... Is that that we're talking about rebooting of the character, though, in that instance? Yeah, just a really weird rebooting of the character, rather than retconning. But it does factor in. Reboots have the same kind of status, don't they? Because they retcon official law that we've sort of been enjoying for years and years and years. So they can have the status of a retcon, definitely. But Pitt's right. It's not always a bad thing. It depends how it's handled. I think if a retcon is put in there because of an author's bias or creators like their caprice, then it's bad. But if it's put in there because of like real sensible reasons, like it's going to fit with the story better, or it's going to just
make the story better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From that angle, if it's really sensibly done, then it's not guaranteed to be a bad thing.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
I mean, Tanya brings up a really good point with what she was talking about with that Superman. I mean, the fact that they just kind of left it and didn't let it develop into anything. That's when it starts to feel more just like a gimmick. And gimmick's a bad territory to get into. So, like I compare that with what I was talking about before with the Friday the 13th retcon. I like that retcon because it allowed one of my favorite characters to be born. You know what I mean? Without that retcon, as kind of, it makes you scratch your head, and as vague as it can be, perhaps in the horror movie universe, things can be left vague, up to phenomenon. But without that retcon, Jason wouldn't have been.
That's right.
He'd still be a dead little boy at the bottom of the lake. You can't kill anybody when you're a dead boy at the bottom of the lake. So, it's just, I think what it comes down to is, what are you going to do with it? You took your dick out of your pants. Now, what are you going to do with it? You're going to swing it around, or what are you going to do?
It's really class. Exactly. You've unsheathed your sword. Will it taste blood? Or not? Oh, geez.
Depends on if she's, never mind.
Takes it right back down again.
I'm going to put myself back on mute for a little while. Bye.
I literally felt like I had to move away from the screen a little bit.
Oh, okay. Your face is like one of those wrestlers who just slams you back down onto the mat. You try to get up. No, she's suplexed you.
I saw you, Tanya, slowly move away. as soon as swinging dicks came into the picture, it was like,
she's getting out of range.
Which is probably a very good reaction to have to that kind of thing. A lot of good self-preservation.
Yeah. I like to preserve myself and the general situation, well-being.
Well, I think with that we have absolutely done the subject to death. That's the Quack cast. Oh my god, the Dick cast, the Con cast, the Retcon cast.
We have swung it around enough.
We're caught in the fan, and it's
done. Everybody's been sufficiently mushroom slapped.
Oh my god!
Oh.
Thank you guys very much for being a Quackcast number 331. Yeah, that's where we are now. 331. Oh my god!
Wow.
Jeez, I don't know what we're going to do next week. The topic. God, I think it's something.
Oh, we'll do this one again and pretend it never happened.
Yes. And we'll just redo this one, repost it, and then just go back and change some of the key things that we said in the beginning. That this, you can say that this isn't about retcons, but this is about, I don't know, just say something. I couldn't think of anything in time that would have been witty. So.
We'll pretend that we didn't all die.
After saying that this is not about retcons, just leave it there and go ahead and talk about retcons. Like it all makes sense.
Exactly.
Oh my god. Just before we finish, you guys, I was telling you about Lex before, the great series Lex. The second series is all up and down like B movies. But the weirdest episode of Lex, there's 2 episodes. One's called The Web, and one's called The Net. And what they are is just the exact same episode, and they've just slightly retconned it. So they must have done it to save on budget
money
or something like that. Yeah. And
right.
It just fits in with exactly the thing we're talking to with the Quackcast. You watch it all the way through and think, what the? Am I drugged? What? Is this the right episode? Something weird. I've gone back in time. What's the Mandela effect? What the hell? But no, they just did an entire slight retcon of an episode, put the same thing. So there you are, Lex. Thank you guys for being part of the Quackcast. And
thank you.
Bye.